Chelsea's new club captain Reece James has been confirmed to have picked up a fresh hamstring injury after just the first week of the new Premier League campaign. The 23-year-old was substituted for Malo Gusto late in the second half of the Blues' opening weekend clash against Liverpool, leaving many fans wondering whether he was being subbed for fitness reasons or if there was something more serious at play. However, manager Mauricio Pochettino gave the all-clear in his post-match press conference, at the time saying that he was simply tired following his minutes in preseason and that they wanted to avoid the risk of repeating what supporters saw last season, a long-term knee injury which saw him miss out on the World Cup squad back in December. The situation now leaves the club with one out-and-out right-back in the form of Gusto, who arrived from League One side Lyon in the January transfer window last season but was loaned back out to them until the summer. Many will see this as his chance to gather some Premier League experience quickly after his impressive performances against the likes of Brighton, Wrexham, and Newcastle in the Blues' preseason fixtures. However, some might argue that throwing the 20-year-old into the deep end without any prior English top-flight minutes wouldn't be a smart idea. Well, Pochettino might have a third option. Chelsea left-back Lewis Hall looks set to sign for Newcastle United after an agreement was reached between the two clubs. When asked about Newcastle's interest in the 18-year-old, Hall said, "What can I say? Let's wait and see what happens today. He's a player that I like, very versatile and really good potential." Chelsea have reportedly accepted a £28 million offer from Newcastle, but House suggested the initial move would be in the form of a loan. "Yes, I think it is, a loan," added the Newcastle boss. "If we were able to bring Hall, and that would be our transfer business concluded unless there are injuries in our own place." Newcastle have previously inquired for Chelsea players in the past without any success. When asked if he was surprised that Chelsea were willing to do business with his side on this occasion, Howe responded, "I'm not sure Chelsea necessarily see it that way. They have their own decisions to make and have obviously made a decision or potentially made a decision. Until the deal is done, it's difficult to say. They've made a decision in their best interest and we've made a decision in our best interest." Hall, who is a Newcastle supporter, is understood to be keen on the move to St. James Park. Well, the Blues are now looking at the Wales international after seeing a deal for Michael Ollis dramatically collapse. The France under-21 international has surprisingly signed a new contract at Crystal Palace, despite Fabrizio Romano claiming he had agreed to join Chelsea. Despite that setback, Pochettino still wants to sign a new forward and has earmarked Johnson as a viable alternative. The Independent believe Brentford are also keen to sign the Welshman, who was described as rapid by Wales boss Rob Page. However, Nottingham Forest are against selling Johnson to a fellow mid-table Premier League side, so Chelsea are said to be viewed as a preferred destination. The 22-year-old has found himself on Chelsea's radar after an excellent debut campaign in the Premier League last season, scoring 8 goals in 38 appearances as Nottingham Forest avoided relegation. It is interesting to see Chelsea move on to Johnson after missing out on Ollis, as the pair are different types of players. Yes, the duo are able to operate on the right flank as well as centrally, so they have one thing in common. However, Ollis is a left-footed winger who loves to cut inside on his stronger left foot, whereas Johnson is a right-footed forward who operates more centrally and has a very different style of play. The 20-year-old had his breakthrough with Lyon last season. He accumulated 7 goals and 10 assists from 35 outings. The youngster played on the left wing, right wing as well as the center-forward role. Chelsea are likely to consider him as a right winger, given it is a position where they have struggled in recent times. Barcola would be a handy addition to Noni Madueke and Raheem Sterling for the role. The Frenchman does not have the same experience as his compatriot Ollis, but he has a lot of potential. The forward has plenty of pace and likes to take on opposition with his superb dribbling skills. It remains to be seen whether Chelsea can lure him from the French club. Lyon have already turned down a £30 million bid from Paris Saint-Germain for the player, and the Blues may need to pay more. They have the financial capacity to afford the young prodigy, but will face fierce competition from the French champions, who were the first to approach for him in the summer transfer window. Chelsea lost the services of Manuel Ugarte to Les Parisiens earlier this summer. The Uruguayan was lured with a higher salary. The Blues will surely be aiming to avenge the blow by signing Barcola. Barcola may need some time to adapt to the Premier League, but he could be a star of the future. Chelsea could break through the £1 billion barrier in player purchases under Todd Boehly's ownership by the end of this month. Last week's £38 million signing of Axel Disasi from Monaco took the total spend on players since Boehly bought the club to £768.7 million. Chelsea followed that with the £25 million signing of Robert Sanchez from Brighton and want to land at least 4 more players for manager Mauricio Pochettino before the window closes. Brighton's £105M rated Moises Caicedo is the club's top target. The midfielder was absent from training on Monday as he tries to force through a move to Chelsea, but Brighton expect him to be available for their Premier League opener at home to Luton Town on Saturday. Leeds United's Tyler Adams is also in Chelsea's reach. The USA midfielder has a release clause of around £20 million. Talks are ongoing between Chelsea and Juventus over a swap deal for Romelu Lukaku and striker Dusan Vlahovic, which would see around £35 million go to the Italian club. Chelsea also want Crystal Palace winger Michael Ollis, 21, who is understood to have a £35 million release clause. They have offered £17 million for Brazilian striker David Washington, 18, at Santos and £21 million for Montpellier's Eli Wahi, 20. Chelsea have approached investors about raising more capital to offset their spending and look at an upgrade to Stamford Bridge. Talks have taken place with Aries management, who have invested in Inter Miami, and other parties who could purchase a minority stake in the club. Boehly is looking to bring in an extra £390 million. The Blues are also looking to extend their network of clubs beyond French side Strasbourg and have looked at some options in Portugal. When they were handed the keys to Stamford Bridge in May 2022, the Blues were 12 months removed from winning the UEFA Champions League. You know, the top prize in club football. The number one reason these big clubs compete and spend huge sums of money in the first place. For whatever reason, Boehly and company wanted to push forward with a plan to build a young team to dominate the next decade of football without realizing that's not quite how this sport works. Of the 23 players that were part of Chelsea's matchday squad for their 2021 European triumph against Manchester City, just 4 remained: Thiago Silva, Reece James, Ben Chilwell, and Callum Hudson-Odoi. Chelsea finished 12th in the Premier League last season before Boehly stumbled into one of his only bright decisions thus far, appointing Mauricio Pochettino as head coach. But if Boehly could go back and spend his €1 billion, or a little over £850 million, again, how would he construct his perfect new Chelsea 11?